you.
All right, here's where it gets kind of weird and certainly not so fair and not so balanced. Left-leaning groups. You think they're getting the same IRS treatment or have been or were throughout this whole process? Fox Business Network's Elizabeth McDonald has been doing some digging. Apparently not quite.
Not quite. I've been looking through nonprofit filings, and I've been looking through websites. A number of them stand out, and these are progressive, left-leaning nonprofits that are lobbying federal and state officials, elected officials, politicians, to do things. Excuse
Leaves you
me.
speechless. I hear you. I hear you.
Like raise the minimum wage.
I'm going to get you some water here. Actually, here you go. I haven't touched it, I promise.
I don't know what happened.
But one of the things that came up with this, as you know, is that, wait a minute, maybe if everyone were treated the same way, it wouldn't be half as obnoxious. But apparently it was very obnoxious because only conservative groups or those aligned to conservative causes were treated this way.
Sorry about that. Mandated paid leave is what they're fighting for in the restaurants. And, you know, we found Americans United for Change. They're saying call elected officials on their website. You know what's really striking, too, is the Urban Institute, which is nonpartisan. I apologize for my voice.
No.
This whole thing leaves me speechless, clearly. Urban Institute has found that a third of the revenues that nonprofits get in the door come from federal contracts. So these nonprofits are so close to the political machinery and Washington, D.C., that oftentimes they're just thought of as part of the government, and many times because they're doing what the government wants them to do, and that is things like employment, education, health, you know, letting the world know about these government issues. So I'll tell you something, but when you see them lobbying, when you see nonprofits go out there and calling elected officials, saying, do this on behalf of our group, and this is a heavily, apparently, union-backed organization, you got to say to yourself, where is the IRS in this story? And it's time and again, we've seen across the board, Neil, that we don't see enough about, you know, the nonprofits that are of a certain political bent getting probed by the IRS. Now, we know under certain Republican administrations, Greenpeace was chased after
but
churches.
Not to the volume or the degree this was. Wouldn't they have, in retrospect, wanted to do some token examinations of these left-wing groups to make it appear that, oh, we were going after everyone? They didn't even feign that effort.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, this is why this problem is so striking. Usually it's after the fact refereeing that the IRS just basically does an audit of these nonprofits after they become nonprofits. Now we have them stopping them right before they get in the door. And I'll tell you, it's directly linked to those 10 Democrats who pressured the IRS starting in March of 2010 to say to them, listen, IRS, you got to go after these groups and see who's donating to them and do a deep dive into their filing to see who is backing them and whether or not they're in the bright line. There aren't really bright lines in the law, whether they fall within the letter of the law. It was that pressure from those 10 Democrats, including Senator Chuck Schumer and Al Franken and Cara Levin and others, that I think directly links to what the IRS was doing to these groups that were of a conservative bent.
You go, girl. Even when you can't talk, you leave us speechless. All right, Lizzie McDonald. In the meantime, when left-leaning groups were left alone, the National Organization of Marriage was not. Even its donors were not.
People's names were disclosed as donors. Their businesses were boycotted. If there was an employee at a business, that business was boycotted. They were harassed. They were assaulted on the streets. They were vandalized in their property.
All right, that's a National Organization for Marriage. Doesn't have, you know, Tea Party in it, doesn't have Liberty in it. So why was this group targeted? The group's chairman clearly angry, clearly not intimidated, clearly loaded for bear, and clearly willing to talk with me exclusively on Fox Business tonight.